Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner, and joining me as always is Ash Burns. Ash, how are you, my friend?
Yes, very good, thank you, mate. Pretty decent weekend, sun shining, snow inbound. It doesn't get much better, does it? What about yourself?
Yeah, can't complain. It was a good weekend, wasn't it? We'll come to that in a moment. Let's start with Sevilla. Not much to talk about there, really, is there? It's quite a forgettable game, I think it's fair to say. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was one of those. It went sort of the way I expected it to, in a sense. I thought tactically we were quite poor at throughout most of the game. It's an away match in the Champions League against a very, very decent Sevilla side, I think, who haven't lost in like 35 games or something at home. So I was still confident going into it, but I thought we should have done a lot better than we did. I thought, we got lucky on a few occasions. We got dominated in a lot of areas of the pitch for majority of the game. And I think, what was it? One shot on target, wasn't it? McTominay's, that was it. And Lukaku maybe should have done a little bit better with that volley. But apart from that, I think we just dug in, went for the draw, which I think is, it's a bit dangerous, especially I'd have taken a 1-1. But 0-0 is so dangerous going back into the away leg, because if Sevilla get a goal, the way that we've tended to play at times this season, it could be a very big struggle to get 2 goals against quite a resolute defence and a solid team that Sevilla is. But yeah, disappointed. But when you look at obviously that man again, David De Gea, it makes you pretty grateful that we've got someone like him between the sticks, and because that game could have finished a lot worse.
Yeah, he did pull off 2 worldies before half time, didn't he?
He did.
I thought for the first 15 minutes we did quite well. We didn't create much, but one thing that we've picked up on quite a lot in the last few weeks, a few months really, we're pushing March now, the last sort of few months, is that we don't press very well.
No.
We invite pressure onto us. But with Herrera playing and McTominay in that midfield ahead of Matic, I thought both of them did very well.
Yeah.
Pressing Sevilla. They didn't create much. They had more of the ball, but they didn't create very much. And then as soon as Herrera was injured and Pogba came on, although it was Pogba, our midfield just seemed a lot weaker. A lot more was getting through.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of the same sort of problems that we've seen week in, week out, where we just struggle to keep hold of the ball. We keep losing possession. The other team they were dominating us. I thought Matic had a really bad game against Sevilla, giving the ball away a lot, as did most of our players. Second half we improved a little bit, I think, but we just and again, this is another recurring theme throughout our season, or at least the last second half of the season and towards the end of the first half of the season, is that when we do eventually move forward, we're just very careless in the final third, and I think a lot of the final passes were poor, not a lot of movement, bodies not getting forward, taking too long on the ball as well. And again, I noticed that basically Sevilla was just sort of like a carbon copy of all of our other games we've been playing recently, taking too long on the ball, not getting forward quick enough, standing off, inviting pressure, all that sort of thing, and it just seemed a very frustrating game, which, like you said, was lucky to come away 0-0. Go on.
Yeah, I was looking at, I think it was that game in particular, and obviously you can apply this to a lot of games that we've had this season. When we pick up the ball, say for instance, deep in midfield or even in our defence, you look at players coming forward, and that's what I was watching some other games. I can't remember which games. I know definitely Barcelona and Chelsea was one of them. I can't remember the other game, but I was watching obviously Barcelona, and obviously I'm not going to compare us to Barcelona because tactically, and I think technical ability wise, they're leaps and bounds ahead of us just because of the players they've got. Yeah. But if you look at the way their players move the ball, not just moving the ball but moving themselves, and that's one thing I noticed with United of late, and I suppose maybe for the last season or two, is when the ball comes to a midfield player or a defender and they push up the field, that they receive the ball and they're static, and you watch this every time we get the ball, they get ball to feet and they stand there, and this happens quite a lot. It happened against Chelsea as well, which we'll come to. But you look at a player, as soon as a player gets ball to feet, they're looking up and they're looking round, but they're not moving with the ball. That's one thing I think which the better teams they do. They're constantly moving with the ball, and if a player receives the ball, gets ball to feet and stands still, it's pretty easy for a defender or a midfielder to close that man down and put pressure on. If that player then starts to move and starts to drag players with him, it opens up opportunities for other players then to move into space or to pick up a pass. And that's one thing which I think has been frustrating, which goes hand in hand, which I think another one of our problems is that we seem like, and I did put a message out about this, I think we always seem like three teams in one. Our defence is a unit, our midfield is a unit, and our attack is a unit. And they seem to be those civil neighbours that don't really get on, but don't really dislike each other as well. It's like, yeah, you're all right. There's no cohesion, and I know we keep saying it, but it really did look like that at times. And as soon as someone picks up the ball in the midfield, the majority of the attack and the rest of the midfield push up. And it's like, come for the ball. If only we, I know we criticise a lot of players for coming deep, but our midfielders, seem to be, pushing off and trying to pull defenders and pull midfielders away to create opportunities. But all they're really doing is isolating the man on the ball. And this is a couple of things I was looking at. I think it was last week. And it's really frustrating. And it did happen against Chelsea. And I thought in the second half we were much better. We sort of rectified that and it showed. But that's one sort of theory. It's another one of these theories. My other theory of Alexis and Mata fell on his face against Sevilla, didn't it? but yeah, it was that I really noticed that, and I think that's something that we should look at. And maybe that's attributed to the midfielders that we have got. The likes of McTominay and Matic. They're big physical presences. They're not the most agile. I think that's maybe why we did a little bit better with Herrera in the side for the first 15 minutes. We were a little bit more agile. So yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, I think, and something that I'd like to see improve, because I think it just moves everything so much quicker and so much more fluid as well for us.
What do you think our chances are in the return leg at Old Trafford?
It's and I don't mean to sound negative, but I think it's a flip of a coin, and I really want to feel confident going into it. And the result of the weekend has given us a boost, I think, and we're more than capable of doing it. And I think it all depends on how we approach the game, who we play. But I'm just concerned about that away goal. If Sevilla get that away goal, I think we're in trouble. Not to say that we're not capable of putting them away, but I think I'd like to see us keep it tight early on, press them from the off, nick an early goal, and then I don't want us to sit back. As long as we don't sit back, I think we'll be okay, because I don't think Sevilla are as dangerous on the break as some teams we face this season. So I think as long as we press them, we keep sustained attack on them, I think we'll be okay. Anything other than that, yeah, as I said, flip a coin.
Yeah, I would agree. At the moment, it is very much sort of 50-50. I mean, like you say, the game against Chelsea, that will definitely boost some confidence and some morale around the club. Our next game isn't until Monday now, which is away at Palace. So if we can get another win there as well, which I fully expect, that'll be great. And then the big game at home versus Liverpool on the 10th of March, my birthday. So I'll be hoping for a birthday present from United that day with a victory over Liverpool. But I think that'll be the key game. If we can come out of the Liverpool game with a win, that would do massive favours for our confidence and morale. Going into the Sevilla game, I think we'll probably win it.
Yeah.
But if we don't get that win at home to Liverpool and the heads drop, then I think Sevilla could be a very different game. So I think it will all depend on that game against Liverpool, really. What we do in that game will sort of contribute to the result against Sevilla. I mean, it's football; anything can happen. We know that, but sometimes morale and confidence does play a big part.
Yeah.
Should we move forward to the Chelsea game then? It's the one that everybody wants us to talk about, I'm sure.
Yes. Let's go for it.
So it's definitely an improvement on the Sevilla game. What were your thoughts on the game overall?
It was a bit of a mixed bag, but the one thing I was really impressed with was our attitude in the Chelsea game. I think we've seen it, numerous times. Our mentality has been lacking in a lot of games. You only have to look at the Spurs, Newcastle games, to see that. And I thought Chelsea started well. They should have been 1-0 up inside a couple of minutes. Absolute horror show defending from Chris Smalling and from Valencia in the wing as well. and we were very lucky to get away with that. And I thought, once that was a bit of a wake-up call for us. Just luckily that didn't go in. I thought we did all right. I thought Chelsea maybe had the better of it, for a big part of the first half. And then when that goal went in, I think it was the best thing that could have happened to us. When that Chelsea goal went in, because I really thought
that's
it put
common
things
for
into
United,
perspective
though.
for us. Yeah, it is. It is.
Do you know what I mean? Because you look through the history of United. Whenever we've gone a goal down, we seem to turn it on, and sometimes. Because I remember years ago, I used to think to myself, like, if we were having a bad game, I used to think we need to go a goal down.
Yeah.
We really do. So I want them to score, because I know that when they score, that's it. We turn it on.
Yeah, and it was. I was just what I didn't want to happen was keeping it quite stale, a bit tentative, and then Chelsea get a goal sort of midway through the second half. I thought that would have caused us a lot more problems. So I'm glad they got an early goal in a way, because it did force us, like you said, to come out and play some decent football. And I thought, especially second half. I mean, first half it was very even. It was a bit scrappy at times. Some decent play. Their goal was pretty decent, although a bit of a lapse in concentration from the midfield. And I thought our goal was fantastic. Again, it was that speed of movement, the options that we gave the man on the ball. I think they were brilliant. Thought Matic did really well in the build-up. Sanchez, brilliant. Martial, I'm going to criticise Martial for the game, for the Chelsea game, because I didn't think he was brilliant, but I thought he didn't deserve the stick that some fans gave him after the game. I thought he should have had 2 assists. He got one for the Lukaku. Sanchez should have buried the first shot all day, every day. Why didn't it the first time? I haven't got a clue. But yeah, I didn't think he did very well, but he was decent for that. And that first goal, I thought, from Lukaku was great, and I loved it that when it went in, that it shut some of their haters up. And I thought he was superb. And then second half, we really stepped it up. And I don't know what it was, whether it was a formation change or mentality, whatever it was. But
Martial coming off was the difference.
Yeah, that was a big help for us, I think. And I thought Lingard did really well coming on. And I thought Matic in the second half. We discussed it at half time, I think, with some of the guys from the United stand. And I thought Matic looked slow, lethargic first half, and then the second half he seemed to wake up. And I thought he was superb. Some of the interceptions he made, his distribution was much better. And I thought we were very, very good. So yeah, overall, chuffed with the performance. I thought Lukaku was brilliant. And I thought also Scott McTominay. I thought he had a very good game, and he is improving. And I think as games are starting to go on, he's building in confidence. And yeah, I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch. Very tidy, put himself about, and yeah, kept a very, very close eye on Eden Hazard. So yeah.
Yeah, I did put a tweet out just before the game started when the lineup was announced, saying that it's going to be a big test for the likes of Lindelof and McTominay. Lindelof, one of those players that hasn't had a lot of game time, had some heavily criticised at the beginning of the season, and it's justified. He had a shaky start, but he's grown into the club and into the Premier League, and he's improving slowly. I thought he had a good game, not outstanding. He wasn't rubbish. He had a decent game. McTominay, though, I thought was outstanding.
Yeah,
and there's a couple of times now he's played and he's been absolutely brilliant. And another question mark over his head was, can he do it in a big game? And he certainly showed that he could. Against Chelsea, he was absolutely phenomenal. Strong, which we expect from a guy of his size. Gave all sorts of problems. Okay, at the beginning of the game, it looked like he was man marking Hazard for a little while, and I think that what McTominay does different to Herrera gave Hazard no time at all.
Yeah,
but Herrera got sent off once when he had that duty, and then the second time he had that duty, he was booked.
Yeah,
and I think probably Mourinho might have had a word in McTominay's ear. Look, man, mark him, but don't go getting yourself booked or sent off.
Yeah.
So I think that's why McTominay probably wasn't, right on his ankles every 5 seconds, but he did good enough to prevent Hazard from creating much. And I think Hazard may have put a couple of balls in, but he didn't really create much. And I think McTominay did well there, but throughout the rest of the game, I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it was him that played the ball through a pinpoint pass through to Lukaku, who eventually set up Lingard for the header. But overall, though, I think the start of the game was very much similar to Sevilla. I think it was quite even in terms of possession-wise for like the first 15 minutes. But then Chelsea we allowed them to settle into the game. And I think in that first half we had one good attack. And that was when we moved the ball quickly. Pogba picking up the ball deep and moving it forward into the feet of Martial, who took it forward and ended up losing it. But still, that was the only good attack of the first half. And coincidentally, it came when we moved the ball quickly. Pogba picked the ball up from a pass out from the defence, turned and passed it straight away, knowing exactly where Martial would be. So that was good to see, but we just didn't see it often enough. Like I said previously, you don't get that from the likes of McTominay and Matic. You don't have that same vision and awareness that Pogba possesses. But yeah, like you said, after we got that equaliser, we reacted. After Chelsea went 1-0 up, we reacted pretty well. It took us a few minutes, but we reacted pretty well. And then a good bit of link-up play with Sanchez, Martial and Lukaku to get the equaliser. Well taken goal as well. Pleased for him, especially after all the criticism he gets for not doing it in big games. And he had an outstanding game as well. I thought at least anyway.
I agree with you. I think you only have to look at his work rate and look at that. Was it that 92nd, 93rd minute run that he went on? There's not many strikers in the Premier League that would do that and would put everything on the line to get forward like he did there. And I thought he was his hold up play has improved as much as he still I think needs to work on a couple of things, especially his first touch and that. I thought his hold up play was very good, especially creating the equaliser. He had a little bit of a bobble off his head and he had to do a bit of work, but again he showed his strength. Teed it up for Matic and then worked his way into the box, which was brilliant. And that one pass from McTominay, I'm glad you mentioned it, because you look at it from different angles and McTominay picks up the ball and it's a case of he's picked up the ball. And like I mentioned before, a lot of players moved away from him, and he hasn't got many options. But you see him again, like we've both talked about this. Before he even gets the ball, he's looking up. Where am I going to put it?
Yeah.
Doesn't see many options close to him, so he picks the ball up, picks up his head, and Lukaku is on the shoulder of the defence, pointing over. Right, put it there for me. And I think being a young player, and still being I think willing to be moulded into the player that he needs to be. Obliges straight away, puts that ball in for Lukaku, and it eventually leads to a goal. So I think, we need to do more of that from the midfield. Whether it be a long ball, whether it be a ball down the wing, I think our midfielders need to be moving the ball quicker at a greater distance. I don't want to say long ball football because it's not a long ball. If that's where your options are, that's where you play the ball. But I thought that was one refreshing thing to see because. If we haven't got Michael Carrick in the side, it's only really Paul Pogba who are going to play these passes. I think it was really refreshing for him to, display his passing ability because, he's a decent passer of the ball. At times he was sort of, there was shades of Michael Carrick there, not with his passing, ability, I want to say, but his movement and his awareness I thought was really, really good from McTominay. So yeah, it was nice to see us, transitioning quickly from the midfield to attack. And as you said, the 2 times we did that, we scored off both of them. So it was nice to see, and it's refreshing. And Mourinho looks as if he's, finally sort of starting to see where his midfield's going to go. Still think it needs work. I still think we need signings in the summer, but it's looking a bit more promising towards the end of the season.
So, over in recent weeks, you have been, I'm trying to think of the right word, I don't want to say anti-McTominay.
Yeah.
But you haven't really warmed to him.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on him after that game against Chelsea? Has that changed anything for you?
Well, I think it was before with the Chelsea game. Was it the Sevilla game or was it the game before? I can't remember. That I did say to, I'm like, I'll say if I was wrong, I'm wrong. But
well, for me, his last great game was against Huddersfield, which was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And I thought he was decent against Sevilla on a big stage, an away stadium like that. I thought he was decent, but I think we have to use him in a specific way. I don't think he is that utility midfielder like Pogba who can do a bit of everything. I think he needs to be played in a specific position, and I think when he is deployed there, he's very effective. Like for instance, that Chelsea where he played against Chelsea, I thought he was superb, and I think that's where we need to play him. For me, I play him in the midfield, either 2 or 3 where he's played, but I'd maybe like to see Maybe a Matic and McTominay 2 with Pogba just ahead. Sod the left and the right and play Pogba on the left side of a 3-man midfield, whatever. I'd like to see Matic and McTominay in the centre as a 2 and then Pogba just ahead. Again, allowing him to roam. And I think, again, with his ability and everything, he can do the job for us. And I am warming to him because he's helping himself in every way he can. On the pitch, off the pitch, I've seen a couple of interviews that he's done. Really grounded kid, wants to work hard. He's not letting anything get to him, and he seems really focused. So I really like that about him as well. And yeah, what I really like about him is, as games go on, he gets better. And with a lot of young players, you see them start off, quite bright at the start of a game. Want to do all the running and want to get in and amongst things, and then they burn themselves out by 60 minutes. But I think as the game goes on, he gets more comfortable. You saw his influence grow in the Chelsea game as the game went on, and I thought he's done that in quite a few games this season. So. Yeah, I'm definitely warming to him, and for me, as we go forward, I'd be starting him in that midfield, ahead of the likes of, who have we got?
I was about to say, ahead of who?
No, but I would start him over Fellaini every day of the week. I'd start him over Michael Carrick, purely for the energy and the youth, it'd have been him or Herrera, but the way he's playing at the moment, I'd stick him in there. So yeah, I'm definitely coming round to being an advocate then of McTominay playing.
Good. It's good to hear that. It's good to hear that. Just a quick word on Matic. The first half, he came under a lot of criticism from myself included. He was pretty poor. But the second half, I don't know what happened. I don't know what Jose said to him at half time, but he came out a completely different player. We seen the Matic of the beginning of the season, because he was everywhere, wasn't he? Well, not everywhere, but he was blocking shots, he was making interceptions, tackles, bringing the ball forward, playing balls forward. It was like a completely new Matic. I don't know where that came from, but I hope that isn't just because it was against Chelsea. I just really hope that he can continue that, bring that into the games against Palace and Liverpool, and then of course, more importantly, Sevilla. But yeah, absolutely outstanding from Matic. Now, one of the big turning points of the game, just before I come to that, when the second half started, I thought we were a bit better than the first half. We've seen a bit more of the ball, but we still had the same problems that we've been having week in, week out, and that is the final ball poor. Often, or more often than not, very few people getting forward. There was one point, I think, during that game where it was either Lukaku or Sanchez had the ball and there was no one in front of them. You just seen literally 4 Chelsea defenders and then a Man United player, and that was it. Yeah. There was absolutely no one in front of him. And again, players coming too deep all the time, trying to pick up the ball. And then on 63 minutes, Martial came off, Lingard came on. I thought that was the right move. I'm not going to go into detail on Martial because everyone knows my feelings on Martial. Yeah. But he came off, Lingard came on, and that was the difference. As soon as Lingard came on, we just seemed to have a lot more life. It was like an injection of life into the game as soon as Lingard came on, because he was getting around the pitch, was picking the ball up. He was providing options, and we don't see that enough from most of our attackers. And that substitution changed the game for me. And funnily enough, he's the one that got the goal to get the winner. What were your thoughts on Martial's performance? And do you think it was that move? Do you think if Martial would have stayed on, that we would have got the winner? What are your thoughts on that?
I think if Martial would have stayed on, I don't think we'd have got the winner. And a couple of reasons. As I said before, I don't think he had a good game. I thought he was poor for large spells. I do think at times though he created chances. As I said, he got the assist. He should have had another assist for Sanchez. He got down the left, did what he does on numerous occasions, quite frustrating. And I think you're spot on with that notion of that substitution changed the game for us. And I think it comes down to Lingard's willingness to float about. I think with Martial, when he plays, I don't know if it's a part of his game or if it's instructions from Mourinho, he is quite regimented to that left-hand side. Whether that's to create width for us or problems for the defenders, whatever it may be, I don't know what it is. But when Lingard, you always see him floating in and about. And I think with Martial, once he picks up that ball, he looks down the line, doesn't he? He looks down the line, or he's looking for a quick fix, get the ball away or get past someone as quick as he can. I think Lingard is a lot more patient with the ball, and I think he's a lot smarter with the runs he makes as well. I mean, as soon as he come on, you saw him, I can't remember, I think it was either Pogba had the ball on the left-hand side, and I think Lingard, makes a streaking run down the left wing. He's no intention of receiving the ball, but he's just pulling the defenders away to make space, and I think he does that so well. That's one of his best attributes, I think, is moving defenders and midfielders of the opposition. I think he's really clever with that. And it's, I thought he did really well. I think he didn't... I don't think he was amazing on the ball. I think he was very good off the ball, and I think that's where his best moments came, obviously, apart from the goal. And for me, that header, I can't see Martial being in that position to receive that header.
No.
So, I mean, again, that's just his awareness, following the play, looking where the gaps are and exploiting them. And I thought, for me, I think you've got to attribute 99% of that goal to Lukaku. His run, his control, his little trick and his cross were absolutely perfect. But it's a very good header. Gets in front of his man, and wins us the game. And again, I think even after the goal, a little bit shaky for a few minutes afterwards, but I thought we were composed. I thought he offered himself well again, and exploited gaps in the defence. So he's becoming, whether many people want to admit or not, a very important player for us is Mr. Lingard. And it's refreshing to see him, like Lukaku, having a decent game against a good team, and getting a win against another top six, opposition. So fair play to him. And for me, if he'd be starting against Crystal Palace, just to bed him in and see how he performs, getting ready for the big one, which is Liverpool.
Fair enough. Before we go over to Twitter, got anything else you want to add?
I'm not going to talk about Chris Smalling. I'd like to, but I thought, as you mentioned Lindelof before, and I thought it was a big call from Mourinho to put in Lindelof into that team. He's not had the greatest starts. He has been shaky, and I thought he wasn't fantastic. He got caught out one or two times, but other than that, I thought his distribution and his he was pretty solid all throughout. So I was disappointed Shaw didn't start as well, because I was frustrated with Ashley Young down the left. And I thought we had plenty of opportunities, especially in that first half, to get the ball into the box. There was a few opportunities where we got the ball down the left-hand side very quickly, and it called for someone to whip in a ball with the left foot, but Ashley Young doesn't offer you that. So whether it be Luke Shaw or we bring in another player, I think we really need to prioritise getting a new left-back in next season.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. It's a shame with Shaw, because when he came back from his injury, he looked so promising.
Yeah.
But then in his first two games, but then the couple of games he played after that, he just seemed to regress slightly.
Yeah. And
I think that's why maybe Ashley Young is preferred on that left again. I'm not sure what's going on with Shaw. I'm really not. But it's like we have said before in the past. His previous managers, they've all had criticisms. Yeah. For sure. So maybe it's of his own doing. We just don't know.
No.
But we'll see. Do you want to take it over to Twitter then?
Yes, indeed. We can indeed. So, as usual, recording the podcast, anything you'd like us to discuss. Top of the shop, Michael Stow, at Stow Michael, usually giving us some questions, so thank you for that, Michael. He says, does Jose have a dedicated forwards coach? And if not, should he bring in someone to work with the flair players? I'll take this one off your hands first of all, because I have looked into it. I was assuming that we didn't have a forwards coach, and from looking further, it seems that is the case. A lot of the first team coaches, obviously, most of the fans know who Rui Faria is, the assistant coach, and then you've got someone like Silvino Loro. He is the first team coach. I think he's probably most in charge for looking at players and who we we deploy in certain positions, and a lot of his role will be in terms of attacking players and things like that. Obviously, your fitness coaches, your goalkeeping coach, and I think it's Giovanni Serra is the tactical analysis. Now, it's an interesting one because you don't hear a lot of press and things like that with him, and he is, I think one of the most trusted pieces, the parts of Mourinho's coaching setup, and we all question our tactics on a week-to-week basis, don't we? You think he'd have quite a big say on what we do, but again, Mourinho is the type of character that he'll want to control pretty much everything he's going to do. And so, as much as we talk about the under coaches and everything like that, it's Mourinho himself. He's not, in my opinion, I don't think he's going to do a whole lot of delegating in terms of how we set up for matches in training or whatever. That's a different story, but. For me, it's 99% Mourinho's vision, I think. And do I think we should bring in someone? I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think it's just a case of consistency, working together and keeping, a fairly consistent 11, because I think that's been, a big part of our problem is we chop and change so much, either due to, inconsistent players, the likes of Rashford, Martial, and Lingard towards the start of the season, obviously improved now, that maybe even Mata as well, that that they're all so different. They're all very inconsistent, and I don't think we've got a lot of cohesion there. And that's why I said before that cohesion between the midfield and the attack, it's not really clicking. And I think only time and consistency in first 11 choices will improve that. So I don't think we need another person on the books.
Fair enough. We'll go to the next one then.
Sam Hart at Samuel R. Hart. Talk about the 4-2-2-2 we saw in the second half. Sanchez gelling well with the team and Lukaku's form coming into the later stages of the season. I'll let you take that one then.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what the formation was for the second half. I thought we started with a 4-3-3. Obviously, when the substitutions were made, I think Lingard came on pretty much with a free role. Yeah. Sanchez always looks like he's playing in a free role. Most of the forwards usually do look like they're playing in a free role.
Yeah.
Apart from Martial, who tends to just stay in one position.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definite improvement there. I think the forwards did well. We can't really say they linked up that well because for the majority of the game they didn't. A lot of the play in the final third was pretty poor. There was one moment in the first half where like I mentioned earlier, there was that quick attack where Pogba played the ball forward to Martial quickly. I think that was the Sevilla game. But with the goal though, the Sanchez, Lukaku, and Martial, all three of them linked up well for that one. But that was just one moment in 45 minutes. So I think we need to see more of it, really. The potential's there. You just need to... Maybe they need a forward coach.
Yeah.
to work with them, to work on their chemistry and the way they work together. But yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts on that. What about yourself, Ash?
Yeah, it was almost that little tweak, and I'm a big fan of the 4-2-2-2. By the way, it's sort of your two midfielders, and then you've got your two attacking midfielders, so two number 10s essentially behind two forwards. And I am a fan of it, and I think it's a formation that it's very hit or miss in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think it's something that would suit our current squad very well because we've got a lot of attacking players, attacking midfielders who like to play in that number 10 role, and I think it's it would be a way of of bringing them into the squad and playing certain players together. I think for me, Pogba has to play in an advanced role. I don't particularly want to see him in a midfield 2. I don't mind in a midfield 3 or even play him at number 10. And I'd like to see Alexis Sanchez, as well as you saying he's gelling with the team. I did put a tweet out saying that could the real Alexis Sanchez please stand up after that first half? Yes, he was all right, but he's just not hitting the heights that we expected him to. I know it's early days, but I think he needs to do a little bit more, whether that's tactical or if it's Mourinho's instructions to him. I don't know, but I'd like to see him get forward and get central a lot more because we know where he's dangerous. You only have to look at the Martial ball that was played across. He should have buried that. and I think we need to see him in those areas more. So whether he plays in a front two, in a 4-2-2-2 or something like that, with the likes of maybe Pogba, Mata or Lingard behind, I think that could be interesting, and I think he'd work well off Lukaku as well. Lukaku's form, as I said, I'm a massive fan of Lukaku, and I don't think he deserves 10% of the criticism he's had this season, and I keep reiterating it. If you give him service, he'll score goals, and that's a massive part of our problem at the moment, is not getting enough service to our forwards, due to, again, the lack of cohesion and the lack of, the speed of transition through the middle of the pitch. So yeah, thank you, Sam. And then last one then, Floyd Riley, at Floyd Riley. Guys, love the show, thank you very much. Talk about Martial's future and the possibility of him leaving in a swap deal for Willian or a more energetic wide man.
Oh, a question on Martial.
Yeah.
I love these.
You've got to take this future. One.
Yeah. Right, well, well, everyone knows my feelings on Martial. He frustrates the hell out of me at the best of times. Yeah. But I can't bring myself yet to want him out completely, because we know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And I just think that he can still improve.
Yeah.
But I think that by the end of this season, if he hasn't, what's he on at the moment? 9 Premier League goals, 12 in all competitions, or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And people are going on like that's some sort of like world-class stat. It's not really, when you think about it. And you can say the same for Rashford as well. He hasn't been performing brilliantly this season. And I did say a couple of weeks ago, it wouldn't surprise me if one of them went here next season.
Yeah.
Whether it be sold or sent out on loan. Because although Jose has said he's not buying an attacker in the summer, I don't believe that for a second, to be honest with you. I think he will. I think that the primary focus will be midfield. We might bring in a couple of midfielders, but I wouldn't be surprised to see another attacker, to be honest with you. But again, it all depends on whether or not Martial can really, improve between now and the end of the season. And time's running out. It's going to be March in a few days, and then it's just a couple of months left. So I don't know. His future isn't certain, is what I think. How about yourself? I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. There's no way that I want to see him leave the club. Not for me. I think, as much as I'm a fan of Willian, and I think he's a very, very good player, and I think he... Again, you could look at the same as Sanchez, couldn't you? I think he is a player that opens teams up, is very direct, which I think is something that a lot of expansive attacking teams need. Could he fit that right wing role for us? He probably could, to be honest. But I don't want Martial at the club. You look at the comparisons between the two players, whatever many goals and assists. I think Willian's been quite a fringe player for Chelsea this season. But for me, those 8 years of difference is pretty big. I think Willian's 30 this year and Martial's not 23 until December. I don't think, something like that. So it'll be 8 years difference, and for something like that, you look at the potential that Martial has, and how much time is on his side, and I think he can turn into a world class player. Plus the investment we put into him, and I think once we get more players in, maybe improve that midfield, get our distribution a little bit better, and get a consistent 11 going, I think we'll see improvements from him. But yeah, not for me. As much as I'm a fan of Willian, I'd no way trade Willian for Martial, whatever the cost. Not for me.
No, and purely again because of the age gap. I think if Willian was similar age to Martial, I'd probably jump at the chance, to be honest.
Yeah.
But no, definitely not.
Nope.
Okay, I think we can wrap it up there.
Yep, that's it.
Unless you've got anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. It's just a long old wait till the next match, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I hate it. But F1's back, so that's going to keep me entertained all week.
Lovely.
So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in and listening. Ash, do you want to give out your Twitter details?
Yeah, it's at AshBoyo as usual. Had a few people talking about the podcast, getting involved in some discussion. So yeah, keep it coming. love yapping to everyone about, you know, whatever it may be, whether it's tactics, whether it's American gun laws. keep them coming. Yeah, it's all good fun.
Excellent. And you can follow myself too at Paul Gardner LP. And yeah, like Ash said, the Twitter interaction is increasing. So yeah, get involved, guys. Tweet us. You can also follow our podcast account at United Stand Pod, where we do put tweets out asking you to get involved and give us your suggestions for topics. It always gives us an extra 10 minutes at the end of the podcast to ramble on about things you want us to talk about. So yeah, do that, and also head over to YouTube and look up Van Cam if you haven't already. I've been going on about it for weeks. If you haven't, it's about time you did. So go and search Van Cam and subscribe. Kevin Ashford, formerly of the United Stand. Brilliant show. Barrel of laughs. Go and subscribe. I think that's it from us. Cheers, Ash.
Thanking you.
We'll be back next week.